The Disappearance of Edward Harland, A Mystery of Deception and Desire. London, 1934. The city was wrapped in fog thick enough to muffle carriage wheels and turn every street lamp into a pale halo. Inside number 42 Belgrave Square, Lady Eleanor Harland waited for her husband's return from a business trip to Bristol. The clock struck midnight, and still there was no sign of him. Edward Harland was not a man who missed trains. Punctuality was his religion, appearance his altar. When dawn came and his bed remained untouched, Eleanor telephoned the police. By afternoon, the newspapers screamed the headline, "Wealthy Financier Vanishes on Train to Bristol." Detective Inspector Arthur Greene of Scotland Yard took the case. He was tall, polite, deliberate, one of those men who could sit in a room for an hour and make you confess out of sheer discomfort. When he arrived at the Harland townhouse, reporters were already gathering like crows on the steps. Eleanor Harland, barely 30, pale as ivory, received him in the drawing room. She spoke with perfect composure. "My husband left on the 7 o'clock train. He was to return by evening. His secretary confirmed the meeting in Bristol took place as planned." And yet nothing. Greene nodded. Was he carrying a large sum of money? Any valuables? Always a few £100s. He disliked checks. She hesitated. And his father's gold watch. A family heirloom. The butler brought in a telegram delivered an hour earlier. It was signed E.H. stamped in Dover, and read only, "Going abroad for health. Do not worry. Will write." Eleanor trembled. "That is not my husband's hand." Greene examined the telegram, then asked to see Edward's study. The room was immaculate. Too immaculate. Not a scrap of paper on the desk, not a fingerprint on the crystal decanter. In the waste paper basket lay a single torn envelope addressed to Edward Harland, Esq. from R. Langley & Co. Insurance Bureau. An insurance company. Greene pocketed the fragment. He questioned the staff. The secretary swore Mr. Harland had been cheerful that morning. The chauffeur remembered dropping him at Paddington. No one had seen him since. By nightfall, the Thames police reported a coat matching Harland's found drifting near Chelsea Bridge. In the pocket, a theatre ticket stub and half of a burned letter. The newspapers smelled tragedy, and London wept for another rich man lost to the river. But Greene did not believe in convenient rivers. 2 days later, he visited the offices of Langley & Co. The clerk confirmed that Edward Harland had recently increased his life insurance policy to £50,000 payable to Lady Eleanor upon proof of death. "Curious timing," Greene said dryly. The clerk shrugged. He mentioned a persistent cough. Perhaps he feared the worst. That evening, Greene reread the telegram from Dover. Why Dover? It was the nearest port to France, but also a useful stage for disappearing Englishmen. He ordered a discreet search of passenger lists. At 9 the next morning, a message arrived. A man calling himself Henry Hale had booked passage to Calais the night of Harland's disappearance. His description fit perfectly. Greene boarded the next ferry. In Calais he found a hotel clerk who remembered the man. Yes, Monsieur Hale stayed one night. Paid cash. Left at dawn for Paris. The inspector followed the trail to Paris, then Lyon, then silence. The man had evaporated. Back in London, Lady Eleanor had become the perfect widow. Black silk, discreet tears, polite gratitude toward the endless condolences. She spoke of her late husband's kindness, of their plans to start a charity in his name. Greene watched her at the funeral service held without a body. She played her role flawlessly. Afterwards he asked, "Do you believe he is dead, Lady Harland?" She met his eyes. "I believe what I must, Inspector." A month later, a letter arrived at Scotland Yard. Postmarked nice. Inside, a photograph of a man in a white suit raising a glass beside the Mediterranean. The handwriting on the back read, "To dear Nell, with love eternal." Eleanor denied all knowledge, of course. But Greene noticed the smallest of smiles when he mentioned the Riviera. The Yard debated closing the case. Greene refused. He knew the pattern: the vanished husband, the convenient widow, the insurance fortune waiting to be claimed. But something about Eleanor Harland unsettled him. She seemed too calm, too prepared, as if she had rehearsed this tragedy. Winter came again. One morning, a fisherman hauled up a body from the Thames, male, middle-aged, wearing a signet ring engraved EH. The face was bloated, unrecognizable. The police pronounced the mystery solved. Lady Harland, overcome with grief for the press, identified the body as her husband's. She received the insurance check 6 weeks later. Greene did not attend the inquest. He preferred to read the report in silence, then visit the riverbank himself. He knew the tides too well. That body had not been in the water for 6 months, perhaps for a week. Someone had substituted one corpse for another. Someone meticulous. He returned to Belgrave Square. The servants were gone, the house half empty. Lady Harland planned to travel abroad for her nerves. Greene found her in the garden pruning roses, the very picture of serene widowhood. "France?" he asked. "Perhaps Italy," she said. "The climate agrees with me." He looked at the gold watch hanging from her wrist. "Your husband's?" "Yes," she said softly. "He would have wanted me to keep it." When he left, she was still smiling. 2 years passed. The war clouds thickened over Europe. Greene, now nearing retirement, received a parcel with no return address. Inside were 2 items: a newspaper clipping from Marseille about a hotel fire, and a charred piece of gold metal, half a watch case bearing the initials EH. The article reported 2 deaths, a man and a woman registered under false names. The details matched too well to ignore. He filed it away without comment. Later that week, he received a call from an old colleague in Paris. "Funny thing, Arthur, we arrested a forger yesterday who claims he once made passports for an Englishman and his mistress. Name of Harland." Greene closed his eyes. It fit. Edward Harland had not fled alone. He had fled with his secretary, a young woman who'd vanished the same week he did. But the twist, Greene realized, came from the wife. If Harland had planned to fake his death, Eleanor had ensured it became real. Greene reconstructed the tale in his notebook, step by step. Edward Harland, ruined by speculation, planned to disappear with his lover and leave his wife behind to collect the insurance. He forged the telegram, staged the river evidence, and escaped under a false name. Eleanor, discovering the plan, kept silent. She filed the insurance claim knowing the body found months later was a fake, perhaps even arranging its appearance herself. She took the money, waited patiently, and when news reached her that her husband had surfaced in France, she followed, not to forgive, but to finish. The hotel fire had been no accident. Greene closed the notebook. Justice, he thought, sometimes burns quietly. On a foggy March morning in 1937, he walked along the embankment and looked out over the Thames, the same river that had swallowed so many truths. In his final report he wrote, "Case closed. Cause of death, poetic." Then, as an afterthought, he added, "When 2 liars marry, the truth is the first to disappear." He lit a cigarette, watched the smoke twist into the mist, and smiled faintly. Somewhere, he imagined, Lady Eleanor was living comfortably on a sunlit coast, her husband's ghost finally at peace, or perhaps still counting her money. Either way, it was no concern of the law anymore.